All right, let all the meeting to order. Please rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so under roll call, we'll note that all of our committee is present and we have two new members. Kimberly Bonner, appointed by the board at the last meeting. A couple of orientation things. This meeting is advisory to the, or this committee is advisory to the board. Therefore, it is subject to the public records law and the public meetings law. And so you should not chat amongst ourselves as a quorum, because that could get us in big trouble. And your records are disposable. So if you're making marks on things, keep your papers, because throw in a box somewhere, because they can be requested and they should be produced if they are. Now, there was also a caveat added by the board at the last meeting when it appointed new members that if a motion is put forward, it must have the vote of at least one board member in the affirmative in order for it to pass. So if we had a vote that was 3-2, and it was you three versus these two, it fails, even though it's 3. So that is the rule. And then lastly, because we are subject to public meetings law, there have to be at least 3 votes in the affirmative for anything to pass, regardless of how many people are actually here. So you can't pass something on 2-1. And that has to do with an attorney general interpretation. Any questions about how the committee works? You can talk to each other outside of this meeting about, you know, did you read that in the packet? Do you think blah, blah, blah? But 3 of us cannot talk. That is called serial communication. So you cannot talk to Marcus and then go talk to Joel. That would be 3. So do not add up to 3. Not even college algebra. We can do it.
Yeah.
I don't think is there anything else orientation wise I need to?
And welcome.
Cover? And there it's at. Okay. So there's that. Kevin, did you see anything in the minutes, or Joel, in the last meeting you wanted to change since you guys were not here? Okay, what do you want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Kevin moves.
Second.
Joel seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oh, I'm supposed to call roll. All right, Joel,
Yes.
Marcus.
Yes.
Get the vote. Kim.
Yes.
Kevin.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion passes. Done. Okay, we are on to the sexual harassment policy. Joe, you are up for that.
Thank you. Good evening. So I have the draft in front of me. Just gonna go by page on the base suggestions from the last meeting. On the first page in the 3rd line, the word sexual was not in front of harassment on that one, so that in there just for clarity that we're talking about sexual harassment, not general. On page 2, the blue writing there is from the policy you had in place in 2020. We're reverting back in this one, so that's why it's added back in. Is there any questions on the wording in page 2?
Is this the time to ask my question? So I had a question. We just met with legal counsel or our lawyer last week at a meeting. And where it says a minor cannot give consent, I think there might be circumstances in which that is not true.
Yeah, so I just Googled it real quick. On Oregon public law, it says minor can't give consent, but we did talk about a certain instance where I guess 17 and a 19-year-old would be kind of omitted from there. So I can double check.
Can we just insert the word generally? A minor generally cannot give consent. Which reserves possibility for a specific case.
Yeah, because this goes more to the legal side of, you know, we'll let the attorneys figure out in each specific case.
Right.
So generally though, I think that would fix that.
It certainly gives you a warning. That work for everybody? Kevin, will that work for you? Okay, go ahead.
Anything else on page 2? Thanks for pointing that out, Kimberly. No changes on page 3. No changes on page 4. On page 5, underneath number 9, where it says prohibition of retaliation. I think I should point out that the formatting might look off, but that's because it's not an extension of prohibition of retaliation. It's actually the start of a new section. This section is about notification. And then I changed some of the wording, hopefully to make it more clear. And the wording now just says that notification must be provided at the start and conclusion of the investigation to the extent permitted by state and federal student confidentiality laws. And then the final notification must state whether a policy violation was substantiated.
So I can understand this number 9. It doesn't make any grammatical sense in there.
So it's an extension of the notice that starts on page 4, where it says the written notification must include, and then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 9. And number 9 is just stating that you can't retaliate. So
Would that notice paragraph then not go, that one that gets notification not go under 3 in the following section to make that more clear?
so the reason why I thought the same thing, but this whole policy is separated into Oregon procedures and federal. So number 9 is still part of
Yeah,
Oregon.
but ahead of the federal definition. So 1, 2, 3, and then the blue language. And then the
So just move it up?
definition starts. We'll move it down.
So
So the end of your list is prohibition.
Mhm.
And then we get into the statement, the notice must, 1, 2, 3, and then we insert the blue language as a new paragraph. But it's still in the notice area.
You're not following.
I'm following it. I feel like you need to mention notification.
No,
And then-
definition.
Yeah, it just says well, maybe give it an introduction before stating
Right
the
there.
notice must. I see it. Yeah.
The grammar of this is weird because
It
the
is.
section above is the written notification must include. And then the section below, 1, 2, 3 is the notice must, so it's kind of. Double speak a little bit in the policy.
Okay.
And this came from OSBA.
So this is our policy back in 2020 and then again in 2024. We just seem to catch this weird section now. So I'd be happy to change it around however makes more sense. Yes.
Says must be notified at the beginning and the conclusion.
Mhm.
So the scenario of a parent or guardian in the middle comes to you or someone and says, how's the investigation going? Is that appropriate? Do we need to spell that out or do we need to mention that at all?
I think if they're asking, we can give like a general update, but usually it would just be at the beginning and the end. So it wouldn't be any more details about how it's going, it would just be the start and conclusion.
So Joe, what if you take that section right there, you make a number 4, and it just says, it starts with must be provided at the start and conclusion, blah, 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 blah. So then it follows sequentially and grammatically from along with the other 3. You just strike out notification and start with must, it'll work there.
Okay.
You could just enumerate it as number 4. Would that work?
Sounds good to me.
The next one's on page 7. It's an and versus an A.
Yeah, so nothing, page 6, page 7, remove the non-student reference. Thanks for pointing that out last time, Mr. Cooper. Kind of a weird one to have there. It's not necessary. Any questions on page 7? All right, going on to page 8. In the last meeting, we talked about how the wording underneath no retaliation in line 4 underneath that might be a little confusing. So as you can see, struck out what's in red there and just changed it to the extent permissible by law.
Questions about that? Okay. Any other thoughts anywhere else in this policy? Anybody want to make a motion to forward GB and JBA to the board? For the recommendation for approval as amended?
I moved to the GBN/DDA to the board for approval.
I'll second that motion.
Joel moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Okay, Joel,
Yes.
Marcus,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Kevin? Yes. And chair votes yes. Done. Thank
Thank you.
you, Joe. All right, we are up to, where are we, high school classes for eighth graders, IKC.
Yes. So this one, last time we spoke, we talked about adding language that stated that it was for a letter grade and that parents and guardians would be permitted to withdraw that credit at any point in time if they so wish to do so. So this policy language just updates that.
One question about that one.
Mhm.
In the blue language, where it says parents and guardians are permitted to withdraw the credit, should that also say and students 18 or older? If you are 18 years old, you're a senior, you're trying to play the
Yeah,
valedictorian game, you can do that on your own initiative, right?
certainly.
Or
Yeah.
emancipated,
Students 18 or older. Okay.
or emancipated, Kevin suggested.
Okay.
I don't know, what are the rights of emancipated students? They have all the adult
Yeah,
rights?
it's spelled out very clearly.
Yeah.
Legal process.
So I'm gonna ask a question about that. So isn't this high school classes for middle school students? So middle school students are not going
It
to
is,
be
but-
18 years old.
But when you get to high school, in the senior year, just before you graduate, there is a habit of shuffling your transcript to get the most favorable presentation possible.
So you could withdraw that credit.
Right. But maybe you thought this was a
Yeah.
good idea to get a B as a middle schooler.
Yep.
But then you got an A in the same class in high school and you no longer want that credit.
Mhm.
Sitting there.
I didn't know you could do that.
We are making that clear because many people have asked that question. You don't know what to do that.
Yes.
With an option to fix.
And then the AR just reflects the same thing, and I will add that students 18 or older emancipated to the language there.
This is a technical question
Mhm.
around that scenario. What does that look like for a? Do we allow that in any other scenario where a parent can say withdraw this off my transcript? Was that just completely remove it?
Well, with it being middle school, I think that's what makes it okay, is my sort of understanding. If it were a high school class and say Algebra 1, you got a B in, you would need to retake Algebra 1 and get an A, and then we could remove it, because we would have to,
These
Mhm.
off scenarios,
Mhm.
that would be what we do.
Just like the parent can say, we don't want to include this, we don't want to, they have to sign up to get this credit. They don't automatically get it. So the same thing can happen in reverse.
Yeah, and it would just completely disappear from the transcript.
Yep. Any further questions?
Any questions? Everybody good? We want to make a recommendation to forward IKAC to the board with a due pass recommendation as amended.
Give Mark an opportunity. He's got the next one.
Good, you can say so moved. whatever
I
you
move
want
to
do.
approve IKAC to the school board for approval
With the
With the
one
amendments.
addition to.
with the one addition of 18 or older and or emancipated.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Full seconds. Marcus moves, full seconds. Any discussion? Okay, Joel,
Yes.
Marcus,
Yes.
Kim,
Yeah.
Brett, Kevin.
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Done, gone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Doing well tonight. Okay, Eric.
A lot of blue on this one.
Eric has enjoyed this process so much.
Yes.
Okay, this is our third revision of artificial intelligence policy. You'll see that we've removed some pieces based on feedback from our last policy committee meeting and added definition to the beginning and then added some more clarity, page 2. And I welcome any questions or feedback you might have. You'll note that we did not include the AR. I think there's still a lot of questions around exactly how we're gonna roll this out and how we will offer, like new tool requests and things like that. I think what we really want to focus on is, can we get this policy adopted and then come back to this committee with an AR that kind of goes into detail about. There's still a lot of unanswered about how we actually deploy this, what we deploy, and how we make kind of feedback available for students and teachers and things like that.
Anybody have anything in this one?
To credit Eric and his team, I think the committees met, the AI committees met probably 5 times at this point, as well as getting feedback from this committee about not looking at AI in a negative light, but rather how can we put the right guardrails around this tool so we can use it effectively and responsibly. So credit to Eric for putting a lot of thought into this.
Did you have anything, Kevin?
I still have one, and I may have missed it in here, Eric. I don't know if we've addressed yet. What if a parent comes and says, I do not want my student in any way exposed to AI? Do we need to address that?
Yeah, so I think that if a parent were to come and say, I don't want my child using AI in the classroom, I mean, this gets a little bit outside of like my realm of technical. Yeah, so I'd probably defer more to like Joel and Bree and the educational side of this and how they work that out with the opt-out and different.
Actually, the use of materials policy.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think there's a
Easier
piece
than
of it.
regulating twice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we know that so we know that our syllabi will have to go through an update process this summer to incorporate an AI component into that. So like there's a lot of like downstream things that will have to be considered as a result of this policy going into effect and just generally the rise of AI that's happening. So
It's a really good point, because I guarantee
I
you that
promise I won't be the one that.
you're. But I think maybe making sure that language, that's
Yeah.
addressed in the AR, because we certainly will, and we have mechanisms for families that we want to opt out, so make sure that's clear.
So that satisfied?
Yep.
Okay, so I have a couple. Imagine. Under the staff and employee use, we've talked about this last time, I'm still feeling like we're there yet.
Okay.
We need to be very clear what we are directing people to do. So these first bullets say staff may, and then staff remain, and then staff must, staff are, noun, verb, noun, verb, noun, verb. And then we get document AI use in any decision-making process. It lacks that same structure. Can we put the words staff, must, probably,
yes.
in front for parallels? And then the same issue with the next set of bullets under student use. In some places we have clear, in some places we don't. I do not want to hold up sending this forward to the board. This can be fixed after the meeting without us getting into wordsmithing today.
Mhm.
But can we get some parallelism there so that we've got very clear direction? Students may, students shall, students must not, whatever the language is.
Yeah.
Just to get that clarity. Because otherwise it's vague. And then the last one is under safeguards and limitations.
Yeah.
The first line, in order to protect themselves and others, staff and students should never. I, as a policymaker, hate the word should. May it never arise in any policy because you don't know whether they can or they can't.
Hmm.
You mean may not, say
Yeah.
may never, may never.
Got it.
Because then I'm able to interpret it. But when you bring me a should, I can't do anything with it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So if we could fix those things, if we want things, I'd
That's
be
easy.
happy with this policy.
That's easy.
Does not make you come back again if we agree to that.
Agree to that.
Chair, I move that we move KJ, the school board for review and approval. With in the meantime, having staff clean up with staff language around the staff and employee use section, as well as similar language around the student use section, and removal of the should from the last, the first sentence in the safeguarding communication section.
Second from Marcus, any other discussion? Kevin, how do you vote?
Yes.
How do you vote, Kevin?
Yes.
Marcus,
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
I vote yes, motion is forwarded to the board.
Thank you.
Community use of facility, Dana.
I have 6 things in this policy to talk to you about. The first, and this is from changes from the last time I presented this. The first thing is that there was a suggestion to get rid of the position title that used to be called Communication and Event Specialist. So what I've done here is changed every instance of that to facilities scheduler and then made a definition in the beginning of what a facilities scheduler means. That way it could be any position in the district that the superintendent has designated as the person who schedules facilities. The second one is in 2A. The suggestion was to have superintendent involvement when there's a denial. I was afraid that involvement might just mean that I'm going to copy the superintendent on an email when I tell somebody they can't use the building. So I thought it probably should say superintendent must approve, so that the superintendent has actually said, yes, it's okay if you deny this person. So that's what the language there proposes.
Can we back up to that one just a second? Should we maybe soften that to notification? Because the point of that, rather than approval, because the point of that was the superintendent doesn't get a phone call from a screaming mad community group that you blindsides the superintendent. I don't know that there are lots of reasons why you would deny it. We just want the superintendent to have a fighting chance to explain it.
Okay,
So if we change it from approval to notification, then you just have to send an email saying, by the way, we'll be approving the performing arts using this year.
perfect. Okay, we can change that from,
Would that be okay with everybody?
okay, so that would be in 2A, it would say denial of an application for building use requires superintendent notification. Okay. The next one is in 2B. Paragraph 2, letter B. The idea of adding language to give the district some responsibility when preempting the use of space. So this basically just says that the district has to find another space if we tell somebody we've got to use this for district use.
Or try to.
Yeah. We'll try to find other usage. Other space, sorry. A bonus fix in paragraph 2B at the very, very end is that section D.1 no longer exists. And so I'm proposing we change that to 4A. Then on the second page, my initial proposal in bringing this policy forward was to add the words "over events" in those 2 places. That seemed to be fine with the committee at the last meeting. And then I noticed in the next part of 4, paragraph 4. So let me back up. Paragraph 4 is building use fees, letter A. Then it continues on to the next page and starts over at letter A. So I believe we need to change that to just re-letter B, C, D, etc. through J. And I just noticed that today.
Good catch.
So then the other change would be in letter B to add some language saying that the board must approve the fees. And my thought is that we would just bring that to the board every year when we bring the student fees, just add that to the schedule, the routine, and just have the board approve those fees at the same time. And if there's any proposed changes, then we would justify why those changes are being made. Then the last thing was Mr. Cooper brought a question about paragraph 5A exploring the idea of adding some flexibility to whether a regular district employee must be on duty or in attendance during the entire time a building is in use. I did want to note, I did not make a suggestion or proposal for change on this language, and I thought some additional information might be helpful. I think the first thing to know is that there is already a lot of flexibility that we have in that, first of all, this would only be a problem if there wasn't already someone in the building. So this would be like the Saturday morning example that Mr. Cooper brought up.
From the offsite stadium cages.
Mhm. This, and this is only buildings. So this doesn't affect soccer fields, batting cages. I don't think the batting cage is a building. I haven't actually been in it. Okay.
That makes.
I do believe they go through this, I do believe they go through this process for the batting cages, so, because I know this specific issue has come up with batting cages.
Yes.
And the batting, I know a lot of this, and the batting cages are small. So it's weird to have a custodian sit in there, so we would just need to clarify
Thinking like.
on campus or something like that.
Well, what do you want? What's the point? What do you want to have supervised?
Yeah,
Outdoor equipment or buildings?
yeah, and I
I
think
kind of like
that's
Anna's
that's
in
the
the building.
question.
Well, that's what policy says, is
Yeah.
building.
Okay,
It says building right now. If you want to change it, you can, but so that maybe frees up some of the issues.
just clarify that.
Another thing to know is that paid coaches are district employees.
I think part of the issue may be, we use the word building at the beginning, and then we switch to the word facility.
Oh,
Maybe we
yeah.
should change facility to building to be consistent with the intent.
I think if you want to, yeah, it might be worth thinking about every facility
Then you don't.
and whether we want this to be building or facility.
I'm then wondering about Park and Rec at the high school soccer fields. There's not a designated district employee overseeing, or I know like little Park and Rec football has used the stadium before. And I don't know if there's been a designated district employee there and or cage. I mean, you could go through a bunch of the pieces there that if you're with some of that language, I think it would. I'm curious on.
So one of the things I wanted to note is that we do have special contracts for different entities. It's allowed in policy for the superintendent to authorize a special contract, which we do have for Crook County Parks and Rec, for example, and it outlines the responsibilities of Crook County Parks and Rec when there is no CCSD staff on site. So they've made agreements that they will make sure all the doors are locked when they leave. They'll make sure all the lights are off. They'll make sure everything's clean, that kind of thing. So that's another area of flexibility that we have in this section. As I noted before, paid coaches are already district employees, so they count. And then if there's any CCSD employee who's involved with the group, who maybe isn't a coach, but they're involved in it in some way, like let's say it's a square dancing group and I'm on the square dancing club and I'm in the building and I want to take on that responsibility of being the district designated employee, that counts.
So like a Saturday morning though, say Parks and Rec basketball in my building, who is responsible for custodial?
That would be Parks and Rec because we've got a contract with them that they do the custodial.
Is there like parameters about what that looks like?
Yep. I don't know what Leland's saying behind me, but there are parameters. I read the contract today as I was preparing for this.
Leland's created a checklist for what those parameters need to be.
But if they prove that they can't adequately clean to our standards, we just tell them, so you're gonna have to pay for custodial. And that's actually what we started to do with some entities when something like that happens.
Let's walk through that a little bit, because I'm not sure we're not walking into trouble. Yeah, let's say I am a teacher and my kid is going to participate in Mat Club. And so I agree to be present when my kid is present to play Mat Club. And we say, well, that's fine, there's a district employee on site, so now you don't have to pay for the extra custodian to be there. Is that not now a monetary favor to me and my kid that'll result in an ethics charge against me for misuse of my official public position because I got something the general public didn't get?
Were you the only one using the facility?
Well, other kids were using it that were on the Mac Club at the same time, but that group got privileged consideration because they didn't have to pay as much as other people similarly situated would have to pay who didn't happen to have a teacher's kid.
Not an expert in Oregon
That
government
sounds
ethics.
exactly like the analysis that we did around the food stuff.
Yes, and I can tell you that, the community facilities use is one of the hottest topics.
And it's the hardest to manage.
Yeah.
As far as reading the policy and applying it.
And there's so many, the tricky thing, like we're explaining now, is there's so many one-off situations and different organizations. I actually was speaking with a maintenance employee today who recommended us, this was just an hour ago, look at, apparently Jefferson County has really teased out this policy. So I don't know if there's anything super urgent on this one tonight, or what do you?
The only thing that's urgent from my perspective is that the Follies are coming up, the Music Boosters run that, and I wanted to make sure that it says or events in 4A1.
But if you run it the exact same way you've always run it, following past practice, and we haven't changed any policy language, you're not gonna get in trouble for that. You may get in trouble with the Follies people, but as long as you're consistent, we'd still have time to change this policy in an orderly way.
It's just very confusing. I've tried to build a decision flow chart based off of this, and it makes it very difficult as an enforcer to feel like you are, to know what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, you talked about the flexibility that's provided with a contract, by doing a contract.
A special contract?
Yeah, would that work to fix the Follies issue as we maybe look to do an overhaul of the policy in the coming, maybe next round?
Yeah, we could do that. Is there,
So I didn't follow that.
So, and I mentioned earlier that there is and I don't have the wording off the top of my head, allows for us, just like we do with Parks and Rec, where we have a contract
Mhm.
that waives the
The
custodian fee.
exemptions that.
So my thinking is for the urgency of making sure we're following procedures with the Follies. We could use that exception and create a contract with them that takes
Right.
care of the immediate need. And then maybe between now and then, we get another example policy. It sounds like Jefferson County's made some progress, and we bring that back to the policy committee at our, say it's our March or April meeting. So.
But that, yeah, go
I
ahead.
just had a question, follow up on what you're saying. So you use the example of a teacher being in charge of, say,
Yep.
like a math club. I'm still hung up on who then is responsible for cleaning. If the teacher's in charge, the building could still be a mess. Is the teacher? in
Yeah, they
charge?
still have the custodial, but they don't have to have the extra staff person on duty. That's during the Mac Club activity.
Okay, so there's still that custodial.
That's the part where I think
Requirements.
the ethics commission would get involved. And I don't want to set up staff for an ethics charge that they never meant to stumble
Right, for
into.
sure. Yeah, I feel looking at this through the OGEC lens that we really
Right.
want to be cautious of as those have ticked up. We want to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row and aren't inadvertently putting people in a position that could open them up for some liability for a complaint.
So I think there's issues. We need to resolve the facility versus building debate,
Mhm.
however you're gonna resolve that language around it. You need to check with the ethics of special conditions for staff. And consistent basis whenever we're gonna apply the exceptions rule. And then we need to look at the Jefferson County policy and see if there's some idea we haven't thought of than that. I don't know.
This one's worth going slower on and getting right. as
Get it
this
right,
legal-
get it wrong. I don't know, we know.
Yeah.
mentioned Redmond has done a lot of work because they host a ton of like the
But they do.
CBO basketball every weekend stuff, so they've done a lot of work in the past handful of years around their facility stuff and having the different categories and expectations.
This policy was first adopted in 2009, and I remember that debate. And it's been pretty much argued about every single year since then. So.
And never perfected. A lot of work has gone into it, but
So,
yeah, more to
do
come.
we wanna, we wanna not move to any motions, or do we
We need to take
end
action.
this until next month?
So
Motion to put the brakes on.
who can gather Jefferson County and maybe Redmond and St. Louis?
I can do that, yeah. Should be easy.
So,
Perfect.
Fine.
all right,
We'll get-
thanks. We'll
Thank
see you
you.
next month.
Yeah.
We mainly just want an excuse for you to come back,
I know.
because we missed you. You're not here.
It was going.
That is a mess.
All right. Vacancies on the board.
Yes, this
Did we
one's
have
fine.
OSBA stuff, or did we have community school boards on this?
Yeah, to set context for this, this was actually a revision, that Mr. Cooper, recognized, I don't know, probably 3 months ago, where, if you remember, with some recent board turnover, we found that our, policy around appointing, or filling vacancies was way out of whack, and we had to do some technical fixes. So, we brought this to the policy committee, our last round. We made 2 minor wording revisions, but in the meantime, we also got some feedback from the community school boards that I actually believe it aligns with our theme to get community input. So the only change that I'd recommend from the version in front of you would be the last sentence in the first paragraph. Right now, it currently reads, the board shall advertise a vacant position for not less than 20 calendar days. What community school board recommend us changing that to, the board shall advertise a vacant position for a period not less than 20 calendar days and may, when practicable, invite written community input regarding the qualities and perspectives that would best serve the district during the unexpired term. This is similar to the process for superintendent, where you're getting community feedback on what they're looking for. Because this would be figuring out a board member, it does make sense to say, hey, we'll solicit. And again, it doesn't say the should, it is the may, so it gives the board the discretion on whether they'd like to do that. So that's the 1 sentence change that community school boards recommended.
Can you read that one more time?
Yes, they're changing it from, or the recommendation is the board shall this is the current language, the board shall advertise a vacant position for not less than 20 school calendar days. The recommendation is that we change that 1 sentence to the board shall advertise a vacant position for a period not less than 20 calendar days and may, when practicable, invite written community input regarding the qualities and perspectives that would best serve the district during the unexpired term. That's the one change to the policy recommended change. Mr. Cooper.
They're fine. It's like gilded ornaments in the cabinet room, but whatever. Care. You might care. I don't think you're good with that.
Yeah,
I had a minor change on the 5th paragraph, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The one that starts with if the offices of the majority, there are like too many words. So I'm down on the 3rd line. I would want to read it to, if the offices of a majority of board members are vacant at the same time, the directors of the High Desert Education Service District shall appoint sufficient persons to fill vacancies until enough board members have been appointed. That extra, a sufficient number of is just dross. Written by me, so that's my fault, but the word enough is enough.
Is enough subjective, though?
Well, it
Who's to
says
say what's enough?
it says right there, enough board members have been appointed to constitute a majority of the
Okay.
total board since
Enough
created
is the
quorum.
majority. Okay, got it. Need to finish reading the sentence.
There's just like way too many words in that sentence.
Scott, didn't you have some questions about the ESD doing the appointing?
Well, that's state law.
Okay,
If we don't have enough, because we can't act if we don't have a majority.
yeah,
We have to have a quorum. So the state law says, but the original language said that the ESD would appoint all the vacancies.
okay, so that,
We were saying just get it up to
Get
the
it to
bare
the
minimum
majority.
where
Okay.
we can do our own thing rather than hand it over to the ESD. And then it became necessary to say, okay, so which one are they gonna appoint? So that's when we came in with
Yeah.
appoint in the order in which they resign, or sometimes you can't determine that, like. Maybe they were all killed at once or something. Then you were appointed zone number.
okay. we do it.
Okay, anything else on that one? Do we forward it? Do we make a motion to forward it with the new pass recommendation as amended?
Can you say so moved?
You can,
So moved.
okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Joel. That's Kim. I got Joel on the so moved. Kevin?
Yeah.
Kim? Marcus?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Send it. We're doing well here, people. Okay, executive sessions, more stuff from CCSB.
Yes, so, policy BDC. So, the context of this one is, Tammy, in reviewing our policies around executive session, found that, actually BDCAR, our AR around executive session was not, at all close up to date with current legalities around executive session. You know, who we identify as news, it was limiting press based on a previous item, which is completely not allowed. So we actually are proposing to delete BDCAR, but connected with that is BDC, our actual policy. So policy BDC around executive sessions, community school boards found that we were actually missing two exemptions that were allowed. So our policy didn't connect with all the updated legislation. So what they're recommending is we copy Grants Pass School District BDC, which is in your packet. The two legislative exceptions that our current BDC didn't have was exception O and P. O is around if the board needed an executive session to discuss cybersecurity infrastructure, they're legally allowed to have an executive session. Our current policy doesn't have that. And then secondly, our current policy doesn't have exception letter O, which is around if the board's considering safety of the governing body, they're able to call an executive session. So the Grants Pass version of BDC does include those. That's in your packet. It was 5.0. So my recommendation is we do move forward with adding the exceptions from the Grants Pass policy into the Crook County School District policy. That was a mouthful. What questions do you have?
Why? Because in my view, it just restates the statute. Why do you need policy to restate statute?
That is very true. Just because it's not in our policy doesn't mean if we had that, we couldn't cite that. We do want our policies and statutes to align. It's more of a broader issue of, it's hard because keeping our policies, if our policies just match statute change, it's hard.
Right. To
Typically,
create the
OSBA.
opportunity for a chasm
Yeah.
every time the legislature makes a change.
100%.
If you just leave it applicable to the statute, then you look at the current statute every time you have to make a call.
Yeah, that would be one way. So we could adjust our wording. We could leave our policy BDC as is. And we could change our policy BDC to say, we'll follow the current statutes.
I think the executive director of the Community School Boards Association is from Grants Pass and is very proud of his writing. I do not think it is necessary, in my opinion.
One other piece to all of this is we actually just included BDC because we wanted to eliminate our BDCAR. So another action would be to leave our current BDC. We would still follow statute compliance. And one thing we do need to do though is recommend a deletion of our BDCAR because it's totally against.
We already did. That came out of the last policy meeting. We had this in front of us at the board meeting, based on the board committee's recommendation.
Yeah,
And then we got the community school board's input, so we sent it
Okay.
back for us to consider if we wanted to do anything different. If we don't do anything different, the recommendation is delete both stands. From the first time, you can reiterate it, I guess, if you want to, but. You've got a recommendation.
so if we've already deleted BDC AR and we do not want to make any changes to our BDC based on,
Well, no, because we pulled the AR deletion. At the last meeting.
okay,
We said we added a requirement if there, it go to second reading, remember?
okay,
So that was for both, the AR and the
Okay.
policy. So right now, the recommendation from the board on second reading is delete both.
okay. So we actually don't need any action unless we want
Unless
to
you
make
just want to,
updated changes to BDC based on community school board's feedback.
that's how I read it.
So that's totally up to the committee.
Kevin, what do you
Let
want
it
to
be.
do?
Think we're good.
You Good? It's good? Okay, you go off that one. Transportation, Dealey, what have you done then?
So at the last board meeting, we had these two policies up for a first reading. And like a day or two before the board meeting, we got input from the community school boards. And they had some stuff that I felt was fine with adding it to the policy. So on like page 5.0, it shows the recommended suggestions to add to the policy, which is line item 3 would read, members of the public, non-students may be transported on a school district bus only when there are no students on board and only for pre-approved non-incidental transportation arrangements. So that would apply to all of our instances. And then on the AR, they suggested that at the top of that we add, this agreement outlines the responsibilities of both the district and the requesting organization to ensure safe, lawful, and cost-neutral use of district transportation resources. Organizations are encouraged to review these terms carefully and contact the transportation department with questions prior to submission. I think that's really good. I like that.
I like that second one, but what does non-incidental transportation arrangement even mean?
It means intentional. So in other words, we intend for that
We don't do
transportation.
accidental transportation.
We do not. That's why it'll apply. It's fine being there.
I mean, does it really add any meaning to add that language?
The pre-approved part is more applicable than the intentional arrangements, I think. Because that way we make sure that whoever's requesting the transportation fills this out so that it's approved before we would do it. It's just more
We
backup.
have had students get on the wrong bus and accidentally transported them somewhere. So
We don't want this to be about students in this particular instance.
So we could, I mean, would people be okay if we said, change that to, and only when there are no students on board and only for pre-approved transportation?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I don't know what non-incidental means.
It's kind of a weird word.
I don't think I'm stupid, but I just do not understand the meaning of transportation.
I move that we would move forward policy EED with the one change mentioned by Jim.
Well, yeah, we're adding two, we're adding that second paragraph, right? That first
Yep.
one,
That works.
the edited CC's
Yes,
community school boards and the full inclusion of that second recommendation.
yes.
7 seconds. Any questions, any discussion? Hey, Joel,
Yes.
Marcus?
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Kevin? Yes. Chair votes yes. Hey, thank you, Lily. You're done. You don't have to come back. Lucky you. Okay, terms of agreement. Oh, that's the same thing. Okay, incorporate, we're done with policies. Yay, congratulations. I do want to tell everybody that I talked to Joel and Tammy. And Tammy is undertaking an AI project. Ooh, get scared. To have, look at all of our policies in their collective and see if we can identify, with the help of AI, anything that is showing a date of not having been reviewed in the last 5 years. With the idea that we should put everything in front of the board sequentially over, within a 5-year period, because it can be embarrassing when somebody comes in front of you with a policy, well, we haven't looked at this in 20 years, and you're hearing a violation thing. So that may not result in us needing to change anything, but it gives us the right to update the dates if something is hanging out there. So that's out there. And then for our new board members, Kevin, I think you've heard this, but OSBA, and Tammy, if you could send these links out, it would be helpful. OSBA has on its website 3 tiers of policies: the required policies, the recommended policies, and the, what's the language for the third one? Optional policies. You should periodically go in and look at those policies and see if there's anything in there that you might want to bring forward for consideration. We always bring the required policies. We often bring the recommended policies. Nope, we almost never get around to looking at the optional policies, but maybe you'll see something there that you think looks like a good idea. So I'm not taking my own advice here because I'm not very good at going in and remembering to look at them, but if we all try, maybe somebody will see something. And if you like it, feel free to use it. There for you. Okay, now the incorporating public input discussion. So at the last meeting, it was rather disastrous because what we do with these policies is we meet as this committee, we review them. We then put them up on the website and say, hey, we're gonna discuss this at next week's meeting because we meet the first Monday and then the board meets the second Monday. And then if you have input, that lands on the board table the night we're supposed to adopt the policy, which is a mess because the board is not there to wordsmith and consider all this extra input at the last minute, especially with this extensive input we got this time. So we need to figure out some way to be more intentional about the way we incorporate this. So here's what I thought might work if you guys would be up for this. Change our policy meeting from the first Monday to the third Monday. So it is the Monday after the board meeting. We would do our policy review stuff. We would then put it up at the end of the meeting. We have 1 week of accepting public input, wherever that comes from. If we got input, we would come back for a first Monday meeting only to consider that input. Then it would have time to make the packet before it goes to the board for the next week. We did it that way. Now, hopefully, we don't get input very often. We're not all that interesting. But sometimes we do. And then we would be orderly in the way we considered them.
I have another idea
Yeah,
around
sure.
that same thing. So we put on our website, here are all the policies. We do that after this committee has gone through it. One thing we could do is just move that timeline of when we put out our policies for public review to before this meeting, if we know we're gonna review that. So then this committee would get that public feedback. And then we could adjust based on that and then take that to the board. And we also could share that public feedback with the board that we received and what we did with it. So that would be another way.
We could do that. And the risk to that is that this policy does something that's either illegal or stupid, which people come out in droves to tell you about after the fact. You don't get the advance warning, you just get crucified at the board meeting, which is okay. We
Yeah.
don't necessarily have to always be
Yeah.
looking at our best, but that is the risk you take when you
Yeah.
do it that way.
Either way. Either way, I think whatever structures we put in.
We gotta have some way to incorporate this
For
in a
sure.
more thoughtful, meaningful way than what happened this time. Otherwise, we end up putting policies off for months because we can't time the process.
And
the
it just gets
feedback.
backlogged. So for.
So, brand new idea, fix it on your first meeting, or.
I vote no on backlogging.
We could try
Do
the
it right
first,
away, I mean.
Yeah, let's
we
try.
could try the first
Let's
method
try it.
and see how that goes and then adjust as needed. Either way, I think it's beneficial that we're proactively getting community feedback, so.
Yep.
Try that one and adjust. Right?
I'm good with that.
Is everybody good with the third Monday meeting?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Amy, that'll be our thing, at least until we decide it isn't. All right, that's like everything we had on the agenda tonight. Anything else? Okay, that'll adjust our meetings, but you'll get some emails on that.
I will.
Life will be good, and at 6:25, we are finished.